Good morning, everyone. We're going to carry on today with multiplying fractions. We're just going to get some slightly trickier numbers in there today. So the answers, firstly, from yesterday's worksheet. I'm just going to put them on here. If you've made a mistake, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. What I would like you to do is just have a look at the answers and see if you can work out where you went wrong, because that's the important part of maths. It's not whether you got the answer right or wrong. It's about whether you've got the right method. And if you haven't, it's working out what mistake or misconception have you been making. So that's the answer to their worksheet. Right, so let's look at today's question. It's not more complicated, but when you read it, it might feel a bit more complicated because now we're using a fraction of a quantity. We're saying Lulu bought 8 2/3 of a litre bottles of fruit punch. How much fruit punch did she buy? I always think with these kind of questions, if the item that you're having a fraction of is tricky, change it. So I don't like the litre bottles because it's confusing me because I'm thinking, oh God, litre, right? There's a measurement there. I'm just going to change it to cakes. Lulu bought 8 cakes and ate 2/3 of them. How much cake did she eat? Change it if you need to. It's not the end of the world. So what I know is I've got 8 multiplied by 2/3. I could have written 2/3 multiplied by 8. Wouldn't make a difference. So I'm going to start with my 8 times 2. Hopefully we're all feeling pretty fresh on our 8 times table. So we've got 8 times 2 is 16. So I know that what I've got here is 16/3. And this is where we've now got to simplify. So we're asking ourselves, how many 3s are in 16? Well, I could just count up in 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So I know that I've got 5 3s. So I could put 5 wholes in there. And I got to 15 and I had 16, which means that there is 1/3 left over. So it's exactly what we were doing yesterday. We've got our 8 multiplied by our fraction. We go into improper. And then if we can simplify it, we do that. And she also bought 8 pies for a party. 2/3 of them were eaten. How many pies were eaten? Hopefully, the more aware of you are going to realize it's exactly the same number sentence. The question's been written differently. Ooh, wrong button. One's how many did she buy? One's how many did she eat? But it's exactly the same problem. And that's what I was saying earlier. Don't get caught up in what the words are saying. Of course, you've got to read them. You can't just say, oh, there's an 8 and there's a fraction. It must be multiplying, because it might not be. But once you realize it's multiplying, don't get yourselves too caught up. Although you do need to realize, is it asking you for the fraction that were eaten or the fraction that were not eaten? Because that's going to be a big difference, isn't it? Okay, let's move on. Hopefully I haven't confused you with that. So find the value of 5, 6 times 12. And then we're going to find the value of 5, 6 times 13. So we know 5, 6 times 12 is the same as 5 times 12 over 6, because it's the sixths, which is the same as 66, which is the same as 10 whole. So if I know that about 5, 6 times 12, can you work out what 5, 6 times 13 would be? Yeah, if we know that 12 lots of 5, 6 are 10, then 13 lots of 5, 6, that's only 1 5/6 more, is going to be 10 and 5/6. Because I can add on my 12 times 5, 6, which was 10. I can add 1. I'm confusing you by saying 1, I know. But I can add 5/6 to my 10. And that gives me 13 lots. So sometimes with fractions, we can combine different calculations if that makes our job easier. That is a shortcut. So you don't need to worry too much about that if that's confusing you. Let's have a try at some of these questions. So 1/4 times 8. 1/4 times 9, and 1/4 times 11. On a piece of paper, can you give, in fact, I'll put 1A to 1C down here. Could you just work out the answers to these questions? Probably need to pause the video. Okay, so here are the answers. If you made a mistake, I want you to think about and work out where the mistake might be. So we know that what we're doing is 1 times 8, 1 times 9, 1 times 11, 2 times 10, 2 times 11, 2 times 13. So check that you've done that bit right. If you've done that bit right, but your answer's wrong, it means you've gone wrong somewhere with your converting or simplifying. So then you need to ask yourself, when you were, if you had an improper fraction and you were converting it to a mixed, were you dividing by your denominator, or have you divided by something different? If you had a proper fraction and you simplified and got the wrong answer, then you made a mistake somewhere in making sure that you've done the same to the numerator as you have to the denominator. So go back and have a look at that. If you can spot your mistakes, you're less likely to make those mistakes again. Once you've checked your answers and you're confident that you have them correct, then I'd like you to go to the next worksheet. It's on today's daily PDF, and I will put the answers on tomorrow's lesson. See you later, everyone.